Hello, welcome back to the She Who Glows podcast. Thank you so much for being here and listening. We've got an amazing guest today who's also a friend of mine who is just so amazing. And I can't wait to share her and for her to share things that she wants to share and for us to have a conversation together, because I always love our conversations. She's a psychic medium. We're going to be talking a lot about burnout and how she came from a background of being in the corporate world and kind of living in between realms from the corporate world into the psychic mediumship side of things and where she is now, and also delving more into intuition and psychic mediumship as well, because I think it's really important to bring more awareness around that if you don't know that much about it. So welcome, Angela. Thanks for being here.
Oh, hi Holly. Thanks so much for that lovely introduction. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. And yeah, we were just saying before this was recorded, it was this time last year that we went to Arthur Findlay College together and had such a fun car journey. So yeah, it's always a pleasure spending time with you.
Yeah, let's explain what Arthur Findlay College is as well, because I know some people won't know what that is. But it's basically a college in London, Stansted specifically, which is purely for spiritual development, where they do stuff about intuition, psychic mediumship, so many different types of things, shamanic stuff. It's just the most amazing place, and I think it's nice to just give that platform here for anyone who's wanting to dive deeper into that as well, because you kind of go there. They do things online as well, but you can go there and stay over on a little retreat, and that's what me and Angela did. We stayed for a week and was in the same room, and it was just, we've made so many amazing memories from it.
It was fun.
It really
I
was.
think I laughed non-stop for a week. Every
Yeah,
day.
definitely laughed and definitely cried at certain parts.
Yeah.
But in the best way. It was just, yeah, so much fun, so highly recommend that. So let's start off, Angela, with you talking about, first of all, how you realized that you were psychic.
So I first realized that I was psychic. Oh, I don't think I actually realized that I was psychic, but I heard voices, which sounds strange. But even when I was a child, like 7 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, I'd hear voices. And I never really knew what it was. And I didn't have the best childhood. I won't delve into it, but it wasn't great, and there were situations and things that happened. I think looking back, actually, I was severely depressed, and I would hear voices, and that's when it started. So I was really young, um, and then as I grew older, I kind of buried it, and you know. Just I think at my 20s I was very much like a party girl, wasn't, I was living it on a very different path. And then I think I was about 24, 23, 24. I just felt compelled to learn the tarot, and I was always seeing psychics and mediums myself. And I started learning the tarot, I think when I was like 23 years old. So I was just giving readings for friends and stuff. And then I was making predictions for friends, like uh, pregnancies, breakups, when someone would get a new job. And it just started from there, really. And then, a huge thing that happened, I had a significant breakup in my 20s, and I started tapping into my ex-boyfriend's thoughts and feelings. And I thought I was going mad. I thought it was because I couldn't get over him, but it wasn't that. I was actually tapping into conversations, and it took me 7 years to work this out, but it was telepathic communication. So I'm clairaudient, so I can hear thoughts, feelings when people are talking about me, good or bad. And I had no one to talk to about it at the time. I was young, and those 7 years was a real spiritual journey of tapping into my psychic abilities. And I look back now and I'm really grateful for that experience, even though it was so hard at the time. And it was a really lonely time as well, because it got me to what I'm doing now with my work. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's the story.
I always find it so fascinating when you say that, because like how how did you feel in that? I mean, I know that you said it was quite scary, but say, for example, there's somebody else going through something like that. And I know that there's been certain things that have happened to me where you just feel so alone and you're like, I know that this sounds crazy, but I also know that I'm not being crazy and this is just an experience I'm having. How did you navigate that? And what would you recommend for anyone who's experiencing out of these world experiences?
Do you mean the telepathic communication, hearing voices, or like having
Yeah.
spirit come through, or just
Kind
everything?
of a mixture of those things. Anything that's not what us as humans think is a normal thing to happen when if it is hearing other people's thoughts or spirit coming through to try and communicate to you, things like that.
I feel like for me, I can only talk about my experience and see if it can help anyone else. But for me, in my 20s, I was very much a party girl. None of my friends were into this, and I was very lonely because I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. So I would say to find your tribe is absolutely huge, to find your people. People, I started going to spiritualist churches, and that's when I developed mediumship. So it's really finding a community, and finding like-minded people is so important, because you realize actually you're not mad, and the normal people who think you're crazy and just very entrenched in the system, no judgment there or anything, they're not your people, they're not going to understand. So it's about having like-minded people is key. I think also is to trust your feelings rather than your thinking and your logical mind.
Which is very hard to do sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing advice. Did you, so was that something that you decided to do knowing that you was into all these tarot readings, psychic readings? Is that when you was like, I want to be around those types of people? Is that when you started to go into the spiritualist churches and things like that?
Do you know what? I was such a mess in my 20s. You wouldn't even recognize me, Holly. I got into so many situations and stuff that is just so embarrassing. And so, I couldn't control my alcohol. Like, standard textbook stuff. I was off the rails and stuff. And I I was being removed from that way of life, and those people as well. So it got to the stage where I wasn't being invited out to places with those group of people because my spirit guides, and they actually came through to me. And I remember very specifically lying in bed on a Friday night, and it was about 9 o'clock or 9:30, and I was in bed, and I was so pissed off that I hadn't been invited out. And I actually heard my guides and like, yeah, but isn't this nice? Isn't this nice that you're spending time by yourself because you can't hear us otherwise? And they were, so I know that they were very much protecting me. So that life was very much removed from me. So there was a void. And it's the universe always removes what no longer serves you. And I think the trick is, don't be scared of the void, because the universe hates a void and that space. So it will fill it up with like-minded people. So that's when I started going to the spiritualist churches. That's when new people started coming to my life. I started making new friends, got into the Hare Krishna movement, developed my mediumship. Um, and I feel like this is such a big thing for people to get onto the right path. Does that make
100%.
sense?
Yeah, no,
Huh?
absolutely. Thank you for sharing. I think that you're so right that you need those people. I don't know how I would be here in the same position that I'm in right now without meeting people like you or meeting people along the path that have seen and like validated what I've gone through instead of just kind of being confused as to what you're experiencing. Because as you say, compassion to those people that don't understand. If they're not having those experiences, how can they possibly understand? They
Yeah.
can't. And so I've had to learn that, we've got to love them where they are as well, and it's important for us to accept where we are, find those people that support us. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. And it's just about being on the right frequency with people, and people that are going to grow you. We do
Mm.
naturally outgrow certain people and in our lives and go through seasons. But once you find your people, you flourish. That's what I think as well. And I know you do from our conversations.
Yeah, 100%. So can you explain a little bit more about what the difference is between being psychic and a medium?
So everyone is psychic on some level. The really basic level of psychicness is if someone texts you and you're like, oh, I was literally just thinking about them, or someone calls you and I was just thinking about you. How weird you called me. That's the basics of telepathic communication, because we're all thoughts travel and we're always communicating through the astral. So that is the kind of very basics of psychic. So if I was giving a psychic reading, I am reading your auric field. So I am reading you. And I believe that everyone is psychic on some level. I think that's a tool that you can develop, like a muscle that you can develop. Mediumship, on the other hand, is when you are blending your auric field with the spirit world. So you're expanding your auric field, you're asking spirit to blend with you, and you're bringing through past loved ones from the unseen world. So you're not getting your energy from your sitter's aura, it's from their past loved ones. And that's the difference. I don't believe everyone can be a medium, but I do think everyone is psychic on some level.
I love that. Thank you. And I feel like there's going to be some people listening to this that might not fully, I think there's part of them that believes there's an afterlife, but not everybody will believe that, because it's like, well, how do we know? Because we don't have any actual evidence of it. So is there any sort of evidence that you could provide, whether that's been an experience of yours or an experience that you've given to a reader, that has made them realize that, oh my gosh, their soul, the energy of them is still alive, they're just not in the physical form body?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, the Spiritualist National Union. So, the home of the Spiritual National Union is where you and I went, the Arthur Findlay College. And spiritualism is the only science based, evidence based religion in the world that has evidence of the afterlife. So, being an evidential medium, you are not only bringing through their loved one from spirit, but you are giving concrete evidence that of what they were like in this life. So for example, okay, I had a client who, actually no, this was when I was on holiday. I was giving this reading, um and I was just chatting to this girl, and her father came through, and he was desperate to speak to her, and he was like, tell her how sorry I am, how proud I am of her, and how much I love her. And she was in tears. So I know that there was a lot of trauma there, because he was like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I was like, wow, I have to tell you, he's saying like how sorry he is. And that's all well and good. Like, I delivered the message. But I said, I need a really, really good piece of evidence that she's going to understand. And he said, tell her William Hill. So I said, he's saying William Hill. And she burst out crying, because the week before the holiday, she was clearing out his house, and he was a betting man. So there were William Hill slips all round the house that she'd had to clear out.
Mm.
You see, so just that one bit of evidence, as obscure as it is, meant nothing to me. I'm just the bridge between the two worlds, but it meant everything to her, and she knew it was her dad. And that experience lifted a whole load of guilt from both sides, from the spirit, from her, and it re-established the relationship, which continues, but just in a different form.
Wow. I honestly, and I know you have so many more like pieces of evidence as well, from given readings or from experiences you've had as well. And I just think, it's so easy to say, oh, your loved one loves you. And, anyone could say that, couldn't they? So it's like, well, I don't
Yeah.
believe that. So I love that the dad came through to say something that no one else could have. You would never have even known that from Instagram or whatever it was, to be able to research into that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And look, I am a skeptic. I'm a very practical person. I've worked in, you know me, I've worked
Yeah.
in the corporate world. I'm I am woo woo, but I'm very practical and grounded. And look, when I lost my own dad, I was like, even though I was a medium and I could bring through other people's loved ones, I was so angry and grief stricken. I was like, this is all a load of bullshit. I doubted it. You doubt it. Even being a medium, you can doubt it. Even though I know it's true, and I have an experience with my own father. Um, he died over 3 years ago now, and it was an unexpected death when he was okay. So it was 3 months after he died, and I was actually giving a reading to someone, and he came through. And I'll just tell you the story quickly. So he came through. He was flying on the south coast of England, where he lived. He lived in Eastbourne, so he was flying. I could see him flying across the South Downs and the sea on the south coast. I saw his parents there, my grandparents, and he was absolutely elated. He was ecstatic. And he was like, I can fly, Angela, I can fly. I'm free. I feel amazing. I'm so happy. I love you so much. My father's only told me he loved me once, and that was when he was dying in hospital. And he was so full of life, full of love for me. It's the happiest that I've ever seen him. And I said, Dad, I know this is you, but I'm going to come away from this experience and I'll never remember it, or people aren't going to believe me, or I might even doubt myself. Just give me something, just anything that I know that this is real. And he gave me the name Tanya. So I wrote it down, Tanya. And I was at my mum's house. 20 minutes later, my mum walked through the door and was going on and on about this girl called Tanya, who I'd never heard of before, who was marrying my cousin, or my second cousin. So it was like he was giving me a little sign to say, this is me. I know what's going on. So yeah.
Wow. I love that you knew as well to like ask him for more evidence instead of just like being like, oh yeah, that's him. Like you're like, no, I need some more here.
Yeah. I've got a lot of Taurus in me. I think it's like my Taurus moon and grounded energy. Like that's important for me. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's why I resonate with you so much as well, because it's taken me some time to like open a bit more up to spiritual things, which some people who know me now probably won't believe that. But I feel like you're kind of prepared in certain ways in life to open you up more for your own mind and what you've been taught from when you were younger. And I know that you have such a grounded approach with it. And I do think that you being in a corporate background, coming from that anyway, and we'll talk more about that in a moment, does really help to be more relatable to you as well, because you've lived a normal human life at the same time instead of, being a hippie person that people tend to think spiritual people are. So tell
Yeah.
us more about that background. Like what made you, how long have you been was you in corporate, and what made you get out of that, even though I know. let's
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
So look, I'm a Gemini. So with a Gemini, there's always like two sides. So I've always had this kind of very practical, grounded. I work in an office. I work for, this company XYZ. But then I've always had the other side, which is going to spiritualist churches and Arthur Findlay College, tarot cards, like a witch. Like I worked for Getty Images for 6 years, and for my birthday, they got me a witch's broomstick on my on my desk, because on my desk I had all my tarot cards and my crystals. So yeah, I've always kind of had the two sides of me. But what was the question again? That's just put me off.
No,
A witch's broomstick.
that is hilarious. I love though that the question was like, let's talk about more about how you got into the corporate world, but I know you were saying that
Yeah.
you've always had both intertwined. And
Yeah.
I have a question from that actually. It sounds like you were obviously quite open with that spiritual side of you, even though you're in a corporate environment where people probably aren't that way
No.
inclined. Were you ever like scared of showing that side of you, or did you ever have any like backlash, or any people like any situations where you thought they don't like me because of this side of me, or anything like that?
God, yeah. Yeah, I did. Oh God, I'm trying to think of examples for you. But do you know what? I had I was like the agony aunt of the office. So people would just
Mm.
tell me stuff and they would just open up to me and I'd just say little comments. Even when they didn't know what I did outside work, I would just say, "Oh, he'll call you in 3 weeks. He'll be back." Or, someone's broken up with their boyfriend or, just little things like that. So sometimes it was good. Other times, yeah, I couldn't really show that side of me. Like when I was in when I was in software sales, like God, no, you really had to wear the mask. So yeah, it's a mixed bag really, and
Mm.
I think they're so different being in corporate, which is very masculine, very much. And I was in corporate sales as well, so it's highly pressurized, targets to hit, revenue, very, very masculine. And then the other side, which is intuitive and nurturing and caring, they didn't really mesh well. But I did it for
Oh.
a long time.
And how do you feel like, I feel like we all have different paths for a certain reason to be relatable to other people. And in what way do you feel like you've been prepared, whether that's by spirit, your higher self, God, whatever you want to resonate with? How do you feel like you have been prepared throughout your life so far to be a psychic medium doing what you're doing now? Because it's hard if you've not grown up in a family that supports that, or in an environment like the corporate world that supports that. What do you feel has been the pivotal moments that's kind of helped you open up to spirit and prepare you in a way to have that thick skin to be a psychic medium that not everybody accepts as well?
I feel like I'm the black sheep of my family. No one's a psychic or medium. I come from a family of doctors and scientists, and very much in the not immediate family, but extended family, very much entrenched in the system. Um, so I get it. I think I really get it. I'm not from a family of psychics and mediums who are really open. I've been in the corporate world, which isn't nurturing to that environment. So I think I'm quite relatable in the sense that I have some clients and they're like, "Oh, I really want to do this. Shall I quit my job and just do it?" And I'm like, "Well, hang on a minute. Let's be practical. Let's be practical. Let's be grounded because it's not all that bumper sticker of like, yeah, follow your passion. It's all going to be great because that's not real life." So I think it is the fact that I'm grounded, I'm relatable. It's not all love and light and unicorns and rainbows, and it's like we are here in this 3D reality to have a human we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and there's a lot of spiritual bypassing that goes on, especially in the new age movement, and I don't resonate with all of that, so I think I'm relatable and I'm grounded.
Mm.
I hope
I
that.
think no, definitely. It just made me kind of think deeper into, first of all, how we do have, everybody has a different path as well of what they're meant to experience. I know for me, I have no earth sign in my chart whatsoever. I'm very airy, fiery, watery, and my approach to life is very much all or nothing, and I
But
go
that's
in
what I
there.
love. That's what I love about you.
Yeah.
That's what I find so inspiring about you because you're at your age, I was nowhere near as developed as you are. You're like for your age, you are like one of the most developed, like knows who she is people that I know, and that's what I love about you.
Thank you. But then what I was getting at as well was that you also have such an amazing balanced approach where it's like, let's think about the practicalities as well as the dream. Let's see how we can get there, whilst also having that trust and faith that things will work out for us. But I do love that, we all have those different approaches to life, don't we? And we have to go on our own path of what feels right for us to do. Because I know there's some people out there that are like, as soon as they've got a feeling to leave somewhere, they'll do it. So there's some other people that will take 5 years, 10 years to do it, and that's their choice. But I do love that grounded approach you have. And the
Oh,
other thing I was thinking as well was how you've been prepared through the corporate world to be a normal human, to be relatable, but also to receive potentially other people not liking you, or to have to put on a mask and live in the human simulation that we're in, knowing as well that there's more to life than the humanness that we live as well. There is the spiritual side to it. And you know, the passing of your dad, and then you having to decide to leave the corporate world where it was that stable income that you knew you were going to get to where you are now. I just feel like you've been prepared so much to have thick skin, to let go into the unknown a lot, and to deal with grief. You know, losing a dad at whatever age is never easy for anybody, no matter what relationship you had with them. So I just feel like you've really been prepared to be in this role, and I don't think you can be in this role if you haven't gone through anything. And I know everyone goes through things in a certain degree in their life, but I know that you've definitely been through a lot of challenges, whether it's been with your health and you having to learn the lesson that if you're out of alignment, or you're trying to hold parts of yourself in to fit in, you're going to find those health issues within you. So let's delve more into that as well. What health issues you were coming up against when you were in the corporate world?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, first of all, I have you to thank for that, Holly, because you know, when I met you last year, you were pivotal in making me be accountable for my health, because I was diagnosed with PMDD, a few years ago. Yeah, I have you to thank for that, because
Oh,
you taught me a lot. You know, last year when we were at Arthur Findlay College, you taught me an awful lot about the feminine, being in your feminine. And I am, if you look at my astrology, my astrological chart, I am actually very masculine. I don't look it, you know me, I'm like 5'1", like little,
she's so small in real life, in that little
like your
pocket
grandma,
rocket.
like your grandma. Do you remember when you showed me a picture of your grandma? Angela, this is what you're going to be like when you're older. Do you remember at the service
I
station?
have cried.
I actually went to that service station the other day, and and I was laughing in my car. I was like, "Oh my God, last time I was here was with Holly," and I pissed myself laughing.
I'm crying. I love my grandma, by the way. She's so beautiful and she's so glam. And I'm like, this is this is gonna be you when you're older.
And you shrink when you get older, so I'm
She's
probably
so
be like 4'1".
4'1", but mighty with your
Yeah,
soul.
but powerful, but powerful.
Yes.
Um, yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so
Sorry,
my
that's really got me.
I was gonna text you, but I was send you a picture, but I was driving, and my aunt was in the car as well. But it was such deja vu. Anyway,
We've just had so many moments where it's a lot of the moments where you're like, we can't be laughing right now. Like you're in school and you really want to laugh, but you just can't.
like the most serious lecture at the Arthur Findlay College with the best mediums in the world,
Yeah.
and we can't stop laughing at Paul Jacobs Brumley accent.
And it's not out of like judgment, but we're just like, it just makes you want to laugh, but in like the best way, in like the most endearing way, doesn't it?
It does, exactly. But health, yes. So you taught me about being in the feminine, and it's being diagnosed with PMDD. So that is an extreme form of PMS, which is a almost psychiatric condition where 10 days before your period, sometimes it can be even 2 weeks, you have suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideation, you're not yourself, and then your period comes and you're fine. So it's like Jekyll and Hyde. So I've been suffering with this for the last 4 years. I was diagnosed with it officially when my dad died. Yeah, a bit less than 4 years. But anyway, so yeah, there were loads of health issues that came with chronic stress. It's always down to stress and not living in alignment. And unfortunately, we live in a system, the monetary system, the way the world is, and it's even amplified now with the cost of living and inflation and everything. It's so hard to even live, and that's why I don't abide by this, like, oh yeah, follow your passion, everything's going to be great. And it's no, we live in this system, and yes, it's amazing if you can break free of the system, and I do love talking about all of that, but to have a very grounded approach, I think, is important. But yeah, that's my story. I feel like the stress that has come from the pressure of corporate sales had a huge impact on my health.
I think also for you, it was about, I know for me, and if anyone wants to listen to more about like womb stuff and feminine energy, things like that, me and Angela did a podcast on her YouTube. So I'll link that in the show notes as well so that we don't spend ages on that topic because that's not for today. But our womb literally is showing us, and the womb is the creation of life. It's very much where our intuitive creations and feelings come from. And so if you are literally in a job that's so stressful and you just feel not quite yourself, it is like Angela said, your body just not feeling in alignment. And as soon as Angela has gotten rid of her job, she feels so much better. And just getting rid of your job doesn't solve all of your problems. It does help a lot of things, but obviously, as she's saying, come from a grounded approach, because everything in life is about finding that balance, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And
I'm
it's
just so happy that you're in that place right now where you are thriving. And I do believe that you had to go through that moment though of being out of alignment so that you can resonate with other people of what it feels like to be in alignment and what it feels like to not be in alignment.
absolutely. And I don't think it's as simple as like, oh, just quit your job when the economy is really bad or that we're having a recession or anything like that. But it's to have an exit strategy and coping mechanisms, like going
Yeah.
from a really practical viewpoint. But yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said the coping mechanism as well, because something that I was finding that I was doing was using like yoga and all these holistic practices as like crutches. But then the crutches only last for so long until you actually need to get to the root and the foundation of what's actually not working for you. So it's always good to be aware if you just obviously use the tools to help you in the meantime, but to not just keep going with that because it's not going to solve every single problem from the root cause.
I completely agree with that. And I have a story to tell you. Yeah, just on that, I was doing exactly the same thing. I think at the most stressful time in my career, when I worked in software sales, I was so stressed. I was spending like so much money on acupuncture and Reiki. And I remember very vividly going into the health shop and getting all these vitamins like ashwagandha, magnesium, like adrenal stuff. And this man just said to me, quit your job. So I had £100 worth of supplements. And it's like, it's your job, like get to the root cause of it. And
Mm.
it's hard to do that. It's hard. So
It is.
maybe
And
it's his crutches.
yeah, and I also think there's a difference because I know that I'm on my soul path and I'm doing what like I love and what I feel lights me up, but it doesn't mean that I don't get times where I feel tired or where I maybe haven't burnt out, because there's also then a different challenge within the work that we do where it's helping people to have strong boundaries with that as well. And I do also feel like that when you're using an intuitive muscle, it's a different kind of energy that you're using compared to, I don't know, doing something else that's with the thinking brain. And I have found that I sometimes use a lot more energy when I'm doing teaching or a coaching session. And so my acupuncture sessions have been so supportive with replenishing myself and whatever, whether it's a mentorship or spirituality therapy. And it's knowing the difference between if you're using it as a crutch to like escape and support yourself, or whether it is just actually helpful for the path that you feel is right for you as well.
Totally. That's so true. And getting in alignment and following your true path as much as possible in this crazy, difficult system matrix that we live in. If you can do
Mm-hmm.
that, you're already on the right path.
Absolutely. So I know it's not actually been that long, has it now, that you've come out of your corporate environment and kind of delving into this new path forward. What was the breaking point for you to be like, right, obviously it's scary stepping into the unknown and not knowing exactly what's ahead, but what was that moment of, I gotta stop this now, let's move on?
I don't think there was one pivotal moment. I feel my career has gone like this. At the top of my career, I was earning really good money. I bought my flat. I bought, I was successful on the outside. I was successful, but I was spiritually bankrupt. I had all my guides went away. I couldn't tune into my intuition. Um, and that was at the peak of my career, probably around 2020. Um, but then I ended up in hospital. I had an eye virus, so many health issues. Um, so I think around, yeah, it hasn't been one pivotal moment. It's like then it's kind of, then I've had other jobs that aren't so stressful, but they're stressful in another way, but it's still been the kind of corporate sales. So it hasn't been, I feel like for a lot of people it's like one big dramatic moment, whereas
Mm.
for me it's kind of, if you think about two paths, two motorways or a dual carriageway or whatever, like two roads, yeah? You've got your spiritual side. So I've always been giving readings, like for the last 15 years, I've been giving readings. And then I've got my corporate world, and they're kind of like they merge into one. And my corporate career from the outside is going whoa like that, and then my business in terms of like my readings and my spiritual work is going like that, and they kind of meet in the middle. It's
Mm.
been like that for me. It's been quite a gradual thing, but not without
Yeah.
its tower moments, like ending up in hospital and being so stressed that I don't even know who I am anymore.
Mm. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's so difficult. But I do love
Yeah.
that you've got that different side of a approach where it wasn't a one decision moment, it was a gradual transition. And so yeah, that because you've made that transition, talk to us about what it is that you're doing now. And I know that you're still doing your readings, and uh,
Yeah.
let's talk about what it is that you're doing now, and what is a reading? Like why would I want to come for a reading?
Yeah, of course. So the way that I work is with my guides in spirit. I work with tarot cards, and I work with my guides to give you an indication of the energy and things that are going on with you at this moment. I can do predictions, but with predictions, we as humans have free will, so they are subject to change. But that said, if there's something concrete that's it's done, like the deal is done, my guides will know about it, and I've always passed that information on. I give mediumship readings as well. I don't do it as a standalone just because it's really difficult if someone really has their heart set on one particular person to come through and that person doesn't come through and somebody else comes through. So I kind of integrate it all together in my work. So that's the main part of my work. I also do quantum biofeedback therapy. So I have a machine that has an aura camera. It can measure your vitamin and minerals and deficiencies there. It can balance your chakras. It's got an acupuncture program, and yeah, all of that. So
Sounds
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it is.
I know that Angela is obviously amazing at intuitive readings and mediumship, but I've not tried the bio machine yet, which I would love to try because
Yes,
I feel
we'll
like
have.
that's something so new, isn't it? That's like up and coming.
Yeah, well, I qualified in it in 2021. I did all my qualifications, but I just haven't, again, because I've been in the corporate world and I've kind of been balancing these two paths. I haven't had the kind of time or space to use it as much as I'd want to. But you will be a one of my first, well, not first clients because I have used it, but in terms of like moving forwards, I'd love to
Yeah, no,
put you
I'd
on the
love
machine.
to. Absolutely would love to
Absolutely.
try it. I will come
Yeah.
over, we'll sort that out for sure.
Yeah, love that.
How have you created trust with your intuition? Because like I know I've had moments where something's come through and it's been like sometimes I felt fearful of actually saying it because it's like, what if it's not true? Like, what if this doesn't land and it gets a certain reaction back? How have you just let it flow and let yourself trust your intuition to be true?
Do you mean intuition when it comes to myself, and you're talking about intuition when it comes to yourself, or are you talking about when you're reading other people?
So when you're in, or kind of any situation, so when it be in both, I would say, when it comes to yourself and when you're reading other people.
Um, okay. So if we start off with the self, it's that kind of, it's not fear-based. It's not the kind of the anxious thoughts that go round and round in your head. Um, it's like an inner knowing. So it's more of like a very quiet, feeling that you get. It's quiet. It's like it's just a knowing, and it's just about quietening the mind rather than getting very anxious. Like fear-based anxiety is very different to inner knowing and intuition. And I feel as well with intuition, you will get signs, or I get signs anyway, to validate that. So it's really staying open to the signs, but it's not wishful thinking at the same time as well. It's it's just a quiet knowing, and it's just a feeling that you get.
Yeah. No, I love that. You said that perfectly. I just think
Yeah.
it's hard to describe it in a knowing when people are like, well, how do you just know? And I feel like it's what you described, and it's always comes across practical, grounded, and to the point with whatever it is. And I think it is different for everybody, isn't it?
It is. And I think, look, with mediumship, all the clairs, so whether you're clairaudient, you're clairaudient, you hear, clairvoyant, you see, that all comes from clairsentient. All of those other clairs are formed from clairsentient, which is feeling. So it's always feeling like, how do you feel? Okay, a really good example. You are with someone. How do you feel when you're with that person? Do you feel nervous? Do you feel like a little bit uncomfortable? Do you feel like you have to watch what you say? And how do you feel after you leave that person? Do you feel energized? Do you feel like really good about yourself? Or do you feel kind of drained and like, oh, I'm in a bad mood, but I don't know why? That it's so simple, but that is classic.
Yeah. I think it's about tapping into how, yeah, your emotions most of all, isn't it? I feel
Yeah.
like some people may not know what the clairs are, and I won't make you go into all of them because it's quite a deep topic to go into. How well, I guess you've just given one there, which is how would you get people to explore how to explore their senses?
Um, So first of all, it's just feeling. So you could just practice on someone, just even if it's looking at a photograph or something. What comes into your head? Do you hear a song? I get my guides play me songs all the time, and it has a meaning. Do you see something? Do you see a past memory of you in a situation? And how are you feeling in that situation? Okay, I'll give you an example. When we were at Arthur Findlay College this time last year, I was giving a reading for a lady, and I had the spirit come through, and they gave me a flashback of my life, a memory I hadn't thought of for years. And I was with an ex-boyfriend, and I was in Paris. And I said to Jackie Wright, we know Jackie Wright, she's the president of the SNU, incredible medium tutor. And I was like, why are they keep showing me in Paris with this ex-boyfriend? She said, how did you feel, Angela, at that time? And I said, depressed.
Mm.
And she said, well, go with that. And it turns out this spirit had taken her life.
Mm.
So you've always got to go with the feelings.
Wow.
Do you see what I mean? You've always got to go
Yeah,
with that.
it's like a decoding, isn't it? What you're being shown. Sometimes people see it through the third eye. Sometimes you get that hearing. Sometimes you
Yeah.
get a feeling, and it is like decoding what the energy is trying to speak to you. But I feel like we use that in everyday life as well. Like you were saying, how do you feel around your boyfriend? We're all constantly intuiting what we're feeling if we're feeling safe around a person or in a place in a situation. And it's
Yeah.
becoming more aware of those senses to be able to then decode it with being a psychic to somebody else or a medium as well.
100%. Yeah. And it's looking out for the signs, not looking for the signs, but if something keeps popping up and it resonates with you, then it often, like, your guides are trying to talk to you. They're trying
Mm,
to communicate with you.
absolutely. Did that answer the other point of how do you trust yourself when it's to do with somebody else's life? Because I feel like when I feel like sometimes people can be quite in need of either healing or needing an answer from you, and sometimes are trying to find the right answer that maybe not what they want to hear. How do you trust yourself to know that it's true what you need to deliver despite the consequence that it might get back?
That's a, yeah, that's a really, really good question. I feel like when you're reading for other people, it's always the first initial thing that you get, because then the logical mind can get in the way and you can doubt yourself and you think, oh, but this doesn't make sense. So always go with what you first feel, first of all. Secondly, there is a lot to be said for ethics and the way that you convey certain information that is coming through. I have a lot of relationship readings. I can see certain things, certain situations, and you have a huge responsibility as a psychic medium to deliver that information in a a kind, ethical, and caring way that is for the benefit of the sitter. So it's being it's being really discerning with what you're not discerning with the way that you are conveying that information.
Mm.
There are different ways of saying things,
Mm.
um, and I think sometimes it's difficult one to explain. It's difficult to explain, um,
I
but
feel like what you're getting at there is that we can all know something, but the way that you deliver it is a whole different type of energy. And ultimately, the readings are for healing, aren't they? And if it's not,
yeah,
obviously, sometimes what we need to hear might take someone a while to process that information, which is what they need. But it's the energy that you come across with delivering that information.
yeah, and just on that as well, as a psychic, sometimes we are not given information at that time because the sitter isn't ready to hear it.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
can I can validate this myself when I've gone for readings in the past and I know intuitively something has happened to do with like an ex-boyfriend, like, and every psychic, oh no, I don't see that. And often your guides won't give that psychic that information, or their guides won't give it because you're not ready to hear it as well.
Mm.
So the intelligence of the spirit world is beyond belief, and they know what you are ready to hear, they know what you shouldn't be hearing, so they will kind of maneuver the medium or the psychic in ways where you're ready to hear what they're yeah when you're ready to hear it. Yeah.
Agreed. I love that. The intelligence of the spirit world is just like you say, beyond what we know, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your
Thank
wisdom and your
you.
knowledge so far. I've got one last question to wrap up, which I always end this podcast with, which is, what would you say to whatever younger self you want to go back to of Angela? What would you say to her right now that could potentially resonate with other people here as well? I can't hear you for some reason. No, is it me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Oh, it's my internet connection's unstable, sorry.
it's okay. You're good now.
um I don't have any regrets. I don't. I've made so many mistakes. It's ridiculous if I look back to myself in my 20s, like the amount of mistakes, but I don't have any regrets because they've all got me to where I am now. But if I had to give myself advice, it would be live a life that is authentic to you and don't worry about what other people think. Be true to you, because I feel like I not wasted, but I was living a lie for a long time, or I was trying to fit in and I was never being my true authentic self. So live a life that is authentic to you.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, and
That message resonates so much with me, and is something that I try so much to live and to help people with as well. And I think that your story very much is that, listening to yourself, listening to your intuition, and living without the masks and being in alignment. And your story is so inspiring. You just being out there, of helping people with your readings, and spreading that healing touch that you have in your own unique way is just amazing to witness, and it's amazing
Oh.
to have you as a friend.
Oh, likewise, Holly. And look, on that note about living an authentic life, that's why you're so inspiring to me, because you're younger than me. And I look at you when we were at Arthur Findlay College, and I was like, wow, you really are on the path, like at a much younger age than I was. And for me, that's inspiring because you're living it, and
Thank
you're
you.
doing it. You very much know who you are and what you're about and what you want and what you don't want. And it took me a long time to get there. So, you're an inspiration to me.
Oh, that's so nice. I've really enjoyed this conversation with you today. Thank you
Me
so
too.
much. And I hope
Me
everybody
too.
listening has enjoyed this. Thank you so much for listening. If you've got any questions, where can we find Angela if we want a reading, or if we just want to chat with you, Angela?
Yeah. So I was going to say email. My website is Angela-Haynes. So Angela, Angela -Haynes with an I, HAINES.com. I'm on Instagram, Angela Haynes _psychic medium. Yeah. You
Perfect.
can email me hello at actually I think it's hello at Angela-Haynes.com. I think. Yeah. Need to check that.
Perfect. I will put all of the information in the show notes anyway, so we're all good. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and thank you, Angela. And I shall see you in another episode very soon. Bye.
Thanks so much, Holly. Bye.
Thank you.